Hello everyone and welcome to this brand new episode of the Opposition Preview. I'm Diyar, and today in this video we'll be looking ahead to the West Ham game, a Boxing Day game, so should be great atmosphere at Sellers Park. But let's just quickly look at our previous meeting with West Ham. 2-1 victory away from home whilst 1-0 down. I mean, it was an impressive performance. In that game, the thing that stood out the most was Vicente Gaita's performance. As you know, he's been fantastic this season, but he stood out in that game and saved us many times. And also the fact that West Ham players like Felipe Anderson, they weren't really at it on that day, and it was quite of a surprise to see because I expected Felipe Anderson to go at Joel Wood, but I feel like he struggled. Ever since that game, West Ham have struggled, and even coming into this game, there have been some West Ham fans that have been calling Pellegrini to be out of the club. So should be an interesting game. We'll be talking to HammersChat and getting their thoughts on the game from West Ham's perspective. So let's get right into it. Since our last meeting at West Ham, it seems like things haven't been going good for West Ham, and even some fans have been calling Pellegrini out. So what's the mood like amongst West Ham fans going into this game?
I think there's a big frustration among the fan base with Pellegrini. I think the majority are Pellegrini out. I don't think that's changed despite the win at Southampton. I think it's papered over the cracks, and I would agree with that. Personally, I'm Pellegrini unsure. I'm not really in or out because I think there's a bigger issue at the football club at the minute, and I think that's something we all agree on in the sense that the lack of clarity is the big frustrating thing. He's always 2 or 3 games from the sack, and he wins one or two. He wins one of those 3 games, which resets his cycle. So he remains in the job. We call them dithering days for a reason, and that's because we've been here before with Slaven Bilic, where it's sort of when is he going to go and not if, and no one knows. And the problem is, I don't think the chairman know either. That's the problem.
West Ham have actually picked up more points away from home this season. Why do you think that is?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you. I think it's maybe just a coincidence that with injuries and the opposition we've played and stuff that we've picked up more points away from home. I can't really pinpoint it on one thing. A lot of West Ham fans will be watching this. They'll be saying it's because the London Stadium isn't home yet and it doesn't feel like home. And I think that is a factor. I don't think there is the fear factor at our place. I think that's part of the problem. You think of Selhurst Park, you think tough place to go. You think of anywhere really. You do think, it's Bramall Lane, especially at the minute. You're thinking you wouldn't fancy going there. But you think of the London Stadium. I don't think too many opposition fans are going to be put off by it a little bit. But I don't think that's the big contributing factor. I'm not sure what it is. And if anything, the problem is I'm not sure anyone knows what it is either. It's just one of those things, and it's not something I'm reading too much into at this stage of the season. But at some point, we've got to pick it up because Pellegrini said the home games are more important. But the stats suggest it's not quite the case, is it?
Felipe Anderson tends to be the one player that many opposition fans look at on the team sheet to see if he's playing due to his talent, but he hasn't really been on form this season. So which other players should Palace fans watch out for on Boxing Day?
This is the easiest question. Michail Antonio, since he's come back from injury, he's still not 100% fit yet because he normally takes a little while to get going, but he is already our key player, especially going forward. He will just hassle your defenders. He's hard to play against. He's big, he's strong, he's fast, when he's got the ball, he's got one thing on his mind, and that is gaining territory, running at defenders. And you don't want to play against people like that. We've maybe got, more technical, gifted players like Felipe Anderson. But defenders are comfortable against him. They know how he's going to play. He's a very much a confidence player. Antonio's not that. He's if he misses 5 shots, he'll have a 6th one. He won't give up. And it's a nightmare. He's definitely the biggest player for you to watch out for this weekend. Obviously, Aller's got the ability. I think Pablo Fornals is the one that's maybe the dark horse because he's 25 million. He's not like a small purchase of that, but he's starting to come into it a little bit. He's taken his time to settle in, but the last few games he's been contender for man of match. He's racked up 3 assists in his last 4 games. And if you don't watch him, if you focus on the other players, I do think he can cause some harm to you, actually.
Where do you see the game being won and lost?
Another one, easy. Our keeper situation is not great at the minute. No one really knows who's going to be the goalie. Pellegrini's confidence did not give it away. If it's Roberto, just cross the ball. If Palace just constantly cross the ball, they will score. He's really that bad. Our right back situation, Fredericks is suspended. Zabaleta is going to play there, so Zaha is going to be up against someone whose legs are just gone. There's nothing, like, you cannot fault the guy. His work rate, his commitment, his tackling, the way he reads the game, all top class, but he's just got no legs. Going forward, where could we win it? It's Antonio, for the reasons I already gave. I think he's just a beast. He really is an absolute beast. I'm quite confident that he's not going to change much from the Southampton win. I think he's hinted the keeper situation. He's hinted that Fabianski and Martin, one will maybe play Palace and the other one will play Leicester, but neither are fit to play both. So I think we'll see Martin in goal. I think Zabaleta will come in for Fredericks at right back, and I think he'll stick with Balbuena or Bourne at the back with Crespo left back. I'll be surprised if he switches from the 4-4-2, which won at Southampton. So that means Snodgrass, Rice, Noble and Fornals across the middle with Antonio and Aller up front. The only thing is Felipe Anderson didn't play that game. He was ill, but he's back now. So Pellegrini's got a bit of a question on his hand. What are you going to do with the man that cost £38 million? You're going to leave him out, or are you going to put him back in? And if you do put him in, good luck dropping one of them, because they don't deserve to be dropped. I do worry a little bit. I know I'm going back to the last question here, but I do worry a little bit because you've been playing three centre midfielders, and if we stick with the 4-4-2, you've got an extra man in there. And that could be a bit worrying if you exploit that correctly. Score prediction. I'm going to give you two. I'm going to cheat. If Roberto is not the keeper, I'm going to say 1-0 West Ham. If Roberto is the keeper, I'm going to say 1-0 Crystal Palace. I think our keeper really does impact the game and the optimism and confidence of West Ham fans that much.
Thank you so much for that. Appreciate that. Make sure to check out their channel. The link will be in the description down below. So let's get into my prediction for the lineup. I expect 0 changes due to two things. One, we create chances against Newcastle, and there's been games where we've played much worse and yet there hasn't been many changes. And two, we're in an injury crisis right now where we're so thin, and it's come at the worst time possible. I mean, we're playing against teams which we should realistically beat, doing quotation marks, because no game is easy in the Premier League, as we saw against Watford, the bottom side, and they could have easily won that game when we played against them. But yeah, I expect 0 changes. But one thing that hopefully does change is the fact that if we are in the front foot, I want us to take more risks, and risks of taking players off the bench, such as Max Meyer, and making sure that we stay on the front foot and that we still create chances. Because against Newcastle, we saw it. We created chances, but yet again, I don't think we had all the best players on the pitch at that right moment, especially in the second half. I don't think we needed a midfield three of McCarthy and Milivojevic. I know Max Meyer did come on, but we were 1-0 down and it was on the 85th minute. So if we are on the front foot, depending on how the game goes, I want to see a bit more Max Meyer because he deserved it against Brighton, and we need to reward him for that. But in terms of my score prediction, I'm not really that confident, in all honesty. I'm not too sure why. It might be the injury crisis. It might be the Newcastle game, because I was pretty confident going into the Newcastle game, and look what happened. We came out with 0 points. But hopefully a 1-0 Palace win. But I mean, it could go either way. I could see West Ham winning at 1-0 as well. But let's just see what happens. Let me know what you think down in the comments down below. Do you think that Roy would go with the same lineup? What do you expect the scoreline to be? And also, we wish you all a Merry Christmas, and until next time, up the Palace.